Who wants to live a life full of guilt and shame? How do you get rid of guilt and shame? Stay tuned. Shame is at the root of so many problems. Depression, addiction, even anxiety. Shame can be the root of all of those things. I've treated all of those things and I understand why shame can be so destructive. I'm gonna help you learn the steps to get rid of the shame in your life. First off, let's understand the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Guilt can actually be a very productive emotion. When you do something wrong, it says, that doesn't work for me and I need to fix it. Shame says, I am wrong. Shame is more about your identity. There's no real way to cope with that. It just is. Carl Jung says that shame is a soul-eating emotion. It starts to deteriorate an understanding of who you really are. Now, shame's there for a reason. It's there so that we don't do certain things, like show up to school naked. You have shame that says, don't do that. But shame gets out of control so quickly and so fast, and it starts to define who you are, starts to build your narratives about who you are, and starts to enforce faulty core beliefs that cause all kinds of problems. What drives your shame are beliefs about who you are. They're unwanted identities. They're flaws that you have, and they're things about you that you don't want other people to see. What triggers your shame is when you think that other people can see these unwanted identities. Your shame, in a lot of ways, is your view of yourself through somebody else's eyes. So think about it. If you feel like you're fat and ugly, for example, and you feel like somebody is seeing you as fat and ugly, that's when your shame's gonna fire off, because you feel like you're flawed in that area, and now somebody's seeing it. Shame is nothing more than a fear of rejection and abandonment. You're afraid that you're not acceptable. You're afraid that you're not lovable. So when you believe these faulty core beliefs, now listen when I say that, faulty core beliefs, they are not real beliefs. They're not truth, but they feel like truth to you. Deep, deep down in your identities, as you're listening to me, I want you to think about ways that you feel so flawed that you're not lovable. I'm not smart enough. I'm not successful enough. I have addictions. I'm not a good husband, or I'm not a good wife. If you believe those things about yourself, then your shame's gonna trigger a lot. And we all have faulty core beliefs. So it's really helpful to understand what those beliefs are so that you can recognize them and you can start to challenge them. If this video helps you understand your shame better and helps you practice getting out of your shame, then please like the video and subscribe to my channel. When you're triggered into your shame, it's a visceral reaction. It's automatic. It's fight, flight, or freeze. The part of your brain that fires off is the part that's trying to protect you. When we feel unloved, we feel like somebody is seeing us as unlovable, we want to fight against that quickly. It's about survival for us. Now, that's problematic. What that means is we unconsciously act in our shame. We can change that. We got a part of our brain that can start to get conscious, the front part of our brain. Get conscious about what we do when we're in our shame. Notice your shame responses. Notice what happens in your body. You might clench your fists. You might run out of the room. You might start to lie more or say things that aren't true. You move toward your shame in different ways. You try to kiss up to people to look good. Notice what you do. What are your behaviors? What happens in your body? What thoughts do you have when you have shame? The reason why it's helpful to notice it is because when you start to become conscious of it, you can actually settle your brain down and decide what you want to do about that feeling instead of automatically act in it. This is what kills shame. First, recognize it. Notice, I'm feeling it. Next, speak it. So you want to say it out loud. I'm feeling shame, or that really makes me worried that I'm unacceptable. And you can go in the bathroom by yourself and say it, or you could say it to somebody, but say it out loud. It moves that thought, that trigger, that shame trigger, from the middle part of your brain to that front part of your brain that gives you power over that emotion so that you can choose what to do with it. Once you've spoken that shame, the next step is to actually act against it. The shame is going to tell you to hide or to overcompensate or to distract in some way. Instead, step right into it. So here's an example. If I were at school and my teacher said something to me that humiliated me and made me feel shame, I could run out of the classroom and hide from all my classmates. I could act like I'm the best student ever so that my teacher doesn't do that again. The thing that will really kill my shame is by me doing something like this. Now, when I say this, you might cringe. You might be like, ugh, that's the last thing that I would want to do. But I could say to my teacher, you know, when you said that to me, I really felt sad and I felt shame. And that doesn't work for me. Is that crazy? Or, you know, when the way that you talk to me there doesn't work for me. I'm feeling like I'm unacceptable. Now, all of your classmates would hear that and say, oh my gosh. But what you're doing is you're saying, this is who I am, this is where I'm at, and this is how I feel. Shame is trying to get you to disconnect from the situation. So the opposite action helps you connect back to the situation, which kills the shame. Now let's talk about killing shame for the long run, for the long term. So if what's driving shame are all these faulty core beliefs, what that means is there's a correlation. There's a correlation between how much faulty core beliefs you have, how much you really don't love yourself, and how often you're triggered into your shame. You can actually get rid of those faulty core beliefs. And it's quite simple, but it can be very difficult. What kills faulty core beliefs are consistent acts of courage that act directly against that belief. So if that belief says I'm not enough, then put yourself out there and try again. If that belief says I can't connect to somebody in a vulnerable way, then go try to connect to somebody in a vulnerable way. And if you get rejected, then try again. Do it again and again. Because you need to experience something different than what your shame has told you. The reason why you have those beliefs is because you've experienced something that has told you that they're true. The only way to shift that is to put yourself out there, be vulnerable, take risks, practice courage, and those faulty core beliefs will start to shift. Another way to combat shame is to really dig deep and understand your trauma. Understand where you've gotten these faulty core beliefs and these messages. One way to do that is through EMDR therapy. It's one of my favorite ways to address shame and to address trauma. So if you're interested in EMDR therapy, go to therapyutah.org and I can get you resources there to help you address the shame. If this video was helpful on shame, and if you're struggling as a man in a relationship, then you've got to check out my other video, How to Be a Man in a Relationship. So go over and check it out.